Since 2008, I've run over 5,000 events and hosted well over 1 million people. This podcast is for event planners and marketers and the industry's brightest minds. My name is Nick Field. This is the Professional Partier Podcast. You can follow me at Nicholas John Field on all your major social networks. In this episode, I sit down with Steve Kennedy. Steve has been a managing partner in countless hospitality ventures. Starting as a bartender in Las Vegas, he's worked his way all the way up to work with some of the biggest names in the industry. His consulting company has turned around multiple venues, and Steve is an operations guy, and he talks about what bars, restaurants, and clubs can do to increase their bottom line. Some of the horror stories that he's seen and what to watch out for when you're owning, operating, or even working in a venue. Have you ever found yourself at conflict with other people at the establishment you've been working with? If you have, you'll need to listen to what Steve has to say. If you find this interesting, the only way for us to grow the channel and podcast is for you to subscribe and give us a good rating. So please, if you find this helpful, please do subscribe, rate us, and forward this to a friend who might find it interesting. Thank you very much. Enjoy. Hey, I'm Nick. Welcome to the Professional Partier Podcast. Hey, what's up? I'm Nick. Welcome to the Professional Partier Podcast, where we are enhancing the entertainment industry. Today, my guest is Steve Kennedy. Steve is running a bunch of nightlife and hospitality companies and venues throughout Vegas and all throughout the States over his career. And so he's here with us. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Good to see you. We were just chatting about like the way that Vegas has changed over the last several years, and I was saying, like, when I started doing club crawls here in Vegas in 2011, like it was pretty low key. Like DJs were not a thing, right? Like it was we would take people to clubs and they would never ask about the DJs, and then over time we'd found that as I call it the DJ wars of like 2014, 2015, when Tiesto started playing regularly after Hakkasan got built. Then that's to me what I thought was the time when they really
there was an influx of money coming into the nightlife scene there.
And
everything got priced out.
Yeah, I remember during that time as well, there was a lot of headlines in a lot of newspapers and magazines and stuff like that where entertainment just surpassed gambling in Las Vegas. And I'm not so sure that's the case anymore. They're constantly breaking records in gambling right now. Yeah. So anyway, what tell us about you. Like, give us your life story.
Sure, I'll give you a quick rundown of how I got here and ended up in this world. But I went to school back east in Massachusetts and graduated with a finance degree.
Nice.
And
where in Mass did you?
I went to two schools. I went to University of Massachusetts, and then I went to Mass College in Western Mass. And then after that, moved to the city, did some finance.
Boston?
Yep.
Nice.
Lived in the city and realized very quickly I did not like being in a cubicle and taking exam after exam to get licensed for securities and all that fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. So you were like aiming to be like a stockbroker?
I was.
Yeah? You got sales in you?
I do, a little bit. I did some sales training and all that fun stuff. I started as a fund accountant, which was kind of number crunching.
Sure.
And then started my CFA and insurance, Series 7, all that fun stuff.
Oh, wow.
So before...
What year was that?
2000 to 2001.
Yeah.
And then I sent out an email to a group of my friends and I said, does anybody want to move to the West Coast? I didn't really like living in the city. It was expensive.
Yeah.
And one friend jumped on board and we hopped in the car and packed it up and drove to California.
There you
and
go.
Had jobs lined up, but we moved there September 7th and the trade towers happened 4 days after we moved to California.
Oh, yeah.
So we had plan B and we didn't want to go back to Boston for the winter and get our old jobs back. So that was kind of my intro to, hospitality, I guess. I did a little bit of bartending in Boston just to make extra money on the weekends.
Oh, you did go back to Boston?
No. So at this point, we're in California and I found a job as like a corporate bar trainer for a burger chain called Islands at the time. And,
where in California?
I was living in Studio City.
Cool.
So this was 2001. I actually kind of enjoyed it. And then I had a baseball background, so I coached at a private baseball school and made money doing that, and just kind of worked at night and enjoyed the beach during the day and
living the dream.
Kind of cruised for a year.
So what, you must have been like, 23, 24 at that point?
Yeah, I was 24 years, 23 years old.
I read a statistic saying that like people are the happiest in their life when they are like 21 years old, and then after when they retire. So
those were good times.
Right on.
And then a friend I grew up with was out here from Boston area, and they were doing a lot of hospitality nightlife. James Reyes, who I'm pretty sure you're familiar with. So
yeah, I love James.
James and his brother kind of talked me in. We were good friends from high school.
Yep.
To moving out here, and that's how I got started in Vegas.
Nice.
And about after bouncing around from, I did light group hospitality for about 5 years.
Yep.
I went to open a nightclub in the Stratosphere called Polyesters as a managing partner. I don't know if you remember that place.
No. So Polyesters at the Stratosphere.
Yeah. So it was a chain. There was one in I believe San Antonio, New York, Boston. So it was like a 70s, 80s, 90s kind of themed. And we were crushing it out of the gate down there. And that's when Stevie D came down and asked me to come open LAX nightclub at the Luxor at the time. So I did Pure in LAX for a couple years. And then, the town kind of got flipped upside with the IRS investigations and all that fun stuff.
Wait. What?
I'm sure you've heard about those heydays when the tips were, all over the place, and the IRS came banging down all the nightlife doors. So I was caught up. The investigation was part of, I guess it was Pure Management Group at the time. So kind of changed the, structure of that company from, management and things like that. So I had an opportunity to take another job with the Win opening over at XS, or kind of start on my own trajectory, and I did my own business instead. So
nice.
I was lucky enough to partner with some gentlemen, and we acquired with a group of investors the 33rd floor at the Palms Place.
Nice.
And was kind of running VIP experiences, partnering with the hotel and bringing high rollers and junket license and all that fun stuff. The only thing that slowed that down was 2008, 2009, the real estate crash.
Yeah.
So owning 17 condos in the Palms Place at the peak of the real estate crash was challenging.
Yeah. So you said the 33rd floor of Palms Place. Like the Palms Place is a hotel. It's like kind of like a residential / hotel.
Essentially, it was open to be kind of a high end residential third tower to the Palms.
Yeah. So if they bought out all the condos on the third floor?
So we bought out the entire floor. Yeah, it was 17 units.
All right.
So we would kind of run them as private. This was when Airbnb and VRBO were just kicking off.
Right.
So we were running as private rentals at the Palms.
Nice.
For athletes and high rollers and things like that. But you come in with a bachelor party and take the whole floor.
Cool.
We also were partners in a penthouse upstairs. So you could have people in the penthouse and people downstairs. But that led to a lot of kind of the first wave of what an independent host looked like from actually a business standpoint and working with venues. I guess independent host, promoter, things like that. So we had so many high rollers in town, it started opening opportunities where different venues would be like, well, can we sign you up to contract you to bring your good customers in here and things like that. So they would pay us, a nightly or, however many people we brought in to host our high rollers at different clubs and things like that.
Well, did that exist before?
Did not exist before.
So let me understand. So like you had some residential apartments that were, I imagine, pretty dope, and you'd book them out to high rollers. So people like athletes or whatever, and then they are essentially your clients, and then you would direct them to
dinner, pool parties, gambling. So we were full functioning if we needed buses, transportation. But being in Vegas for a decade, working in the nightlife industry, it was very easy, and people wanted our customers. They spent a lot of money. They were, good groups. So it was easy to set up dinner reservations or get, it was still pre-social media of the nightlife world. So
because what you just described, now all of the clubs
it's the standard now.
Yeah, that they do that on their own, and like they're hiring people to do that. But it's a weird relationship because it's like they kind of reach out to the clubs almost, and then they're like assigned a host, as opposed to before where it's like you would have a host, I assume, and like you would be the first point person, right?
Yeah, I think the host for the clubs has kind of evolved as well. It used to be more of a sales position, a little more. Your responsibility was to go out and find these customers and build relationships and things like that and get them to your venues. And now it's just gotten so big that it's more of the customers come to the venue and they get assigned to a host, and then the host makes sure they have a good time and are entertained throughout the night, things like that.
Interesting.
So it was a little bit like we were talking about earlier before the nightlife wave in Vegas really changed when, I think Hakkasan is what we mentioned.
Yeah.
After the recession, then Hakkasan came in and the DJs went from, it was absurd. We were paying DJs $15,000, $20,000, and then all of a sudden, $100,000, $200,000, $250,000, $500,000.
Yeah.
It just got crazier and crazier. But the venues got bigger and bigger, so they turned into more of concert venue nightlife, where you're getting ticket revenue and things like that, as opposed to you can only host 500 to 1,000 people. You want more of a party atmosphere. Now you get this grand light show and audio visual components and things like that. So
yeah, I've had a few conversations with a few different people about how night clubbing, particularly in Vegas, has gone from being nightclubs to being concerts. Like it's not so much about going to a club, it's about going to see the specific artist at a specific venue. And it's definitely that. It wasn't like that like even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, it was about 2014, 2015 when Hakkasan that opened up. That's when things really did start to change.
Yeah, you had the mega clubs, I guess, is kind of, and you don't really see that anywhere else that big.
No,
I don't think. Maybe a little bit in Miami, but
even still, I mean, a little bit in Miami, but
and you've got 5 or 6 here that are just mega clubs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about the events that happen here in Vegas, and look at like what's happened to Vegas as a whole, not just on the nightlife side of things, but I mean, ever since the Rat Pack, there's been concerts and there's been events like that. But now, I was going through the list of all the artists that are playing in Vegas on like a single night. You've got everything, and these are major artists, everything from members of like Led Zeppelin to modern day rappers and everything in between, and there's like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 major events that are happening in Vegas on a Saturday night, and each one of those have really high ticket prices, like $200, $300, $400.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
with T-Mobile and Allegiant coming online, and then the residencies you've got Adele one night, and you can go to see the Rolling Stones, on Saturday at Allegiant Stadium or something like that. It's bananas now. So
my mom passed away a little while ago, and my dad was talking to me, and he's like, I heard Pink is going to be in Las Vegas. Your mother really liked Pink. Like, I want to go see that. I'm like, my dad is like the last person on the earth that you would imagine wanting to go see a Pink show, but it's just Vegas has turned into a place where it's like that's the it's events for everybody, and then it's not just artists anymore, right? Like now with the sports taking over, they just released the plans for the Oakland A's coming in 2028, I think
so, yeah.
And the Raiders, and there's always rumors about the Clippers, like
the NBA is coming for sure. It's just who's going to own it, and rumors of LeBron or Shaq or.
Oh yeah, do you know something we don't?
I don't. I wish I did.
Right on. Sweet. Kind of continue with your.
Yeah, so I think that's probably when you and I started crossing paths in around 2010, 11, maybe a little later.
11 or 12, yeah.
And I moved from more into my own business starting around then, and did more consultation and working for people to open venues and developed the VIP service component of it. Traveled around the country opening different venues.
Where'd you go?
We did projects in Denver, San Francisco, Dallas, Nashville, looked at some projects in China. So
Really?
kind of explored a lot of opportunities around then, people trying to replicate what Vegas was doing.
Yeah.
We're at the top of the game. We've always been at the top of the game here. I just recently went to New York
Yep.
and realized
No.
I did a rooftop tour because we're opening a rooftop here.
Yep.
That the product here is just superior
Elite.
on a lot of levels.
Yeah, totally.
That skyline's hard to beat there, but from a service standpoint and just ahead of the curve here. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I remember I went the first time that I went back to Toronto, where I'm from, and wanted to like go clubbing, and I was like, okay, let's go to like the best club and like go do bottle service, and I was like, whoa, what's this?
Right.
This is not the same as Vegas. Vegas is just on such a different level. How did you go about like ascending through your career? I understand going out on your own, like that's, it's time for you to do your own thing. But then how do you get in a position where you're like going to be going to Dallas or going to be going to New York to start working with club owners, I imagine? Or
yeah, I think over time here, I was blessed to work with some of the most prominent people probably in the history of hospitality and nightlife and learned tons. I started as a bartender in Vegas to bar manager to assistant manager to general manager, director of operations, marketing director. Kind of learned all aspects, and I wanted to learn everything about the business. So a little bit of that East Coast mentality where, there's an opportunity, you take advantage of it instead of waiting for it to come to you.
Yeah.
But so I got to work with, like I said, like the Andy Massey's and Jason Strauss's of the world, and get to spend time with those guys who have been super successful face to face on a daily basis. It just kind of, I said to myself, like, well, if I'm ever going to do it, I need to do this on my own. So
yeah,
that's just building those relationships throughout the years of being here, and people that you worked with moved to other cities. Could you come here and help us do this? Could you come, to Chicago and fix our problem here? This is what we're dealing with.
And that's how it works. Someone like, let's say that I go to Toronto and I open up a club there and it doesn't do very well, or I want it to do better. I would give you a call.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we take an overview of what's going on and why you're not succeeding. And every city's different, so you kind of evaluate what's going on, whether it's promoters have taken over your venue, or there's theft, there's pricing issues, there's inventory control issues. There's a million things why you can fail. And you're familiar now. You're getting into this world as an owner or operator, so identifying those problems for people and helping them streamline them to fix them. And it's people see what Vegas does and they want the big show and the big DJs, and I'm going to spend $100,000 on a DJ and marketing, but you got to capture the money coming in as well. So.
Yeah.
And how to monetize that and yield that to its maximum is kind of where people struggle.
What do you usually see as being like a major issue that people are running into when they're opening up venues?
I think they're under like basic economics and expectations. What you can charge, where you're maximizing your money. So we got a beautiful space, and people are coming in and sitting down for 4 hours, and they have 2 drinks. So how do you yield up that table revenue and get that check average higher? And everything from how guests are brought to the venue from a marketing standpoint, how they're tracked, how they're spending. Lounges are different than clubs. Dinner restaurants are different than lounges. So it's kind of understanding, how to get your customer, how to get them in there spending, and, capturing it all at the end of the night. So
yeah, that's
your service is no one's stealing. You're staffed properly. Your labor's on point. All those kind of things add up in the end. And
that's super interesting. How I'm actually in the middle of John Taffer's book, Raise the Bar. It's actually not bad. I got a lot of respect for that guy doing his thing. He talks a little bit about that stuff, but like, how do you get people to spend more inside a bar if they're sitting down?
Again, it's your experience. It's upsell opportunities, your cocktail program. If it's nightlife, it's what are you selling? Are you selling dancing and a DJ, or are you selling a cocktail program where you're going to come in and have the best drinks you've ever had, or is it a wine menu or exclusive champagne menu? So it just depends on, and your staff educated enough to pull it off and, be salespeople instead of order takers, and get them into a $25 cocktail as opposed to a $5 beer or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
and just doing stuff like that can turn a bar around.
yeah, your 20% can happen real fast.
Yeah. Nice.
So and then for ownership, you learn your lesson by signing proper leases and being a good tenant and having good landlords and good partnerships, getting into deals. So those are things that can break down real quick. If you're getting into the ownership side of the business, just knowing what you're getting into in advance, have great accountants, great lawyers with experience in that realm.
Tell me some horror stories that you've seen on or like some major turnarounds.
I've seen, you see a lot of places, they sign, I don't want to name any off the top of my head, but they get into a 20,000 square foot lease or it's beautiful space and have grand plans and drop $5-10 million into development and can't get to the opening, so construction issues. There's so many things that can go wrong. If you're doing a first generation space where you have to build bars and kitchens, it gets real expensive real fast.
Yeah.
So how do you return that money to your pocketbook or whoever is partnering with you on the venture? Secondhand spaces are a little more
less risk.
They're a secondhand space because they didn't work the first time. So,
right.
Now you're dealing with demographic and location issues and things like that. So it's just being smart and getting into, I know it's a lot of people's passion, but getting into the right project in the right location. There's a lot of components that can go to it. So
yeah, it's everybody's dream to open up a bar.
Yeah.
I remember when I was young, it was my dream. It was like all I wanted to do was open up a bar. But the way I envisioned it like being like the center of attention with my friends, right? You're like, it's my bar, like let's all drink. But by the time I finally opened up a bar of my own, I don't even drink anymore.
Yeah.
it's just business and fun, right? So I definitely have seen individuals like go down that path of opening it just for the hell of it and it not going well. What have you seen that's gone awry on the partnership side of things?
It's just difference of opinions, or in the restaurant world, you could have 5-6 partners and somebody wants a filet mignon and the other person wants to be Mexican. It's challenging when it's people's passion projects,
right?
And you have different opinions on you're trying to make money, or are we trying to be a passion project and things like that. So you see a lot of that with, I think, when it's someone opening for their personal use in their personal space without a culinary background and things like that. So and partners have different opinions, and something goes awry, and things aren't always sunny and great. And being able to have good communication with each other and talk through things instead of blowing up and getting lawyers involved and all that fun stuff. So it's nothing's easy, but when you can do it successful, it's pretty rewarding. So
do you have to mediate that stuff? Like, have you had to go in there and be like, listen guys, you want a Mexican spot and you want a filet mignon, you want a party spot, like let's sit down at the table and have you had to do that?
Somewhat. I've had to mediate more of relationships that are broken with landlords and things like that, where they're not happy. This is happening. Most of those type of deals, people kind of hopefully get into the deal knowing what their concept's going to be before. But and it's chef operator. You get a lot of those. General manager wants to do it this way. The chef wants to do it this way. You get a lot of conflicts with the kitchen and things like that I've dealt with. But that's just I think that's going to be every restaurant is probably dealing with that throughout the course of time. So
Yeah, that's one day everything will be robots, and the robots will just listen to one person. But
soon enough, right? I think they have an automated McDonald's already, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. I haven't experienced that, but even just going and doing the electronic menu was a little weird for me. It's like you have very little touch points with individuals, which is kind of weird.
I still don't know if that'll ever evolve. Like when you want to go out and experience somebody's menu in their restaurant and atmosphere, you want that service, and you want to know it's
I agree.
hands-on and people care about what they're doing. That's why places are when you can feel that when you go into a place, that's why it's successful, you know.
Yeah, what do you think is the most important thing for a bar or restaurant to do?
I think, it starts from the owners to the management, creating that culture where people enjoy going to work, for one, and that projects off to the customer and what they're providing, and the cooks are passionate and they're not just disgruntled because they're working doubles and things like that. So that all comes, it stacks fast. So if it starts good from the ground up, it continues to grow in the right direction. If you're starting with a bad culture or disgruntled or entitled employees, then things can snowball real quick.
You're talking about leadership from ownership, really.
From the top down, yeah.
Wow. It's crazy that is, that you hear it anecdotally that's important.
Yeah.
But for you to as a consultant to be able to come in and be like, no, I've seen it go sideways from the other perspective, like it not being good. That's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think the culture of, especially in the restaurant world, has evolved. Even in the bar business too, it used to be a lot of screaming and yelling, and you'd hear a lot of curse words coming out of kitchens.
Yeah.
Even if you're out having dinner. And
not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore. It's a little
these
more
snowflakes, man.
It's not as angry, screaming, yelling, and I think the people kind of adapted to earning respect and treating people with respect have probably been more successful than the iron fist doesn't reign too well anymore.
I think that COVID took a pressure valve to everybody's anxiety in the workplace. Like everybody had a year to kind of chill out and like reassess everything, and now you hear everybody talking about how it's so hard to find workers and how it's not the same. But I think it's because people realized during that time that there's more options, and you're not gonna die if you don't make a paycheck this week.
Yeah.
Like nobody in America or Europe or anywhere is around here anyway is starving because they didn't go to work. Nobody's dying. And then when they realize that and they've got more options and they don't need to take work so seriously, I think there's a lot of that kind of culture. Whether it's a good thing or not, I think for business owners, maybe probably not, because people tend to hustle less and they're less wrapped up and involved in their work. But I think from the worker's point of view, it's people are just a lot more relaxed.
And I think they start to know their value a little bit. If you do a good job, you're, especially in the restaurant side of it, I've noticed since COVID, it's probably a 30% to 40% increase on pay.
Yeah.
Most of the business owners I talk to across the board, but you just want to get people who can produce and do a good job. So I think people started realizing if they were hardworking, they had value and other opportunities out there, because it is tough right now. It's still, we're staffing every week almost, so looking for qualified, good people.
Are you finding that that retention's harder?
Not so much retention. It's it's hard to find that quality, experienced employee at the pay level now. So you're almost overpaying. Sometimes you make a mistake and hire someone thinking they're a little more qualified, and you're overpaying for that person or something like that.
Right.
And they don't last. But once you get the good people and treat them well, and like I said, the back of the house, there's no more minimum wage. Like that does not exist. And,
right. Yeah.
Maybe on the tip side if you're a server or a bartender, but you're making gratuities and things like that. But the days of the $12 dishwasher
Yeah.
You know, I think probably across the city, the average starting rate for dishwasher would be $17, $18 now.
Yep.
Cooks are $18 to $22, and with some experience, you're probably $25 plus.
Yep.
So it's before COVID, it was quite
20 is the new 14.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So again, from an operations standpoint, now you're seeing food costs. I don't know if you've gone out on the strip for dinner lately, but it's not cheap anymore. So
No.
because you know, you go, I've seen steaks on menus for 8-ounce New York prime cut, $92 at steakhouses where it's half a steak, you know,
Yeah.
where it used to be a 16-ounce cut.
I know. Smith and Walensky's.
Sides are $17 now. They used to be $7, $8. You know,
Yeah.
it's gotten a little crazy. But that's, you know, when wages go up and everything else, so does prices. So
Have you been to what's the most expensive steakhouse that you've been to?
I have to say, I don't know. Recently, I know went to Carbone the other night. That was not cheap.
Yeah.
But again, if you don't mind paying for it, you put in some bottles of wine and things like that.
Yeah. Have you been in New Surrette?
I have.
Yeah.
It's a little pricey.
It's a little pricey there. It's good though.
It is good.
It's so good. Actually,
It's one of the best burgers I've had in town.
Oh.
If you have never had the burger there, but sometimes before the hockey game, we'll go in and get a burger.
I'll copy that. Oh yeah, you're a big hockey guy, right?
I am a big hockey
Oh
guy.
yeah, I love hockey. Were you at any of the finals?
I was there for all of them. Yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
it was great.
Right
It
on.
was fun.
Yeah. New Surrette. I would give. I'll see if I can remember my rating. I think I rated the food at like an 8.5 out of 10, but the service was like bar none 10 out of 10. Like the best presentation, the best service that I'd ever seen with at any steakhouse. It was almost too much because there was like kind of guys floating over you all the time.
Yeah.
There was like 3 or 4 people like constantly at the table.
Almost like French
Yeah.
Michelin star restaurant.
But it was so good. It was so good.
I expected it to be gimmicky when we first went there.
Yeah.
I'm like, but the food was pretty good.
Yeah.
I give it credit. They delivered on that. So
Yeah.
I just think their location's going to be constant challenge, but
Why? Why is that a challenge?
I think because they are high end, and then
Yeah.
you got sports, you know,
Right
so
beside
you got,
it. Yeah.
So are people going to go there in their Knights gear and stuff like that? It's pretty busy on Knights games, but they have the whole second floor.
Yeah.
It's a big space. When that T-Mobile's not activated, there's not a lot of traffic down on that side of between the park and New York. So,
Yeah, that's right. For those that don't know, it's right beside the T-Mobile Arena, New Surrette. Like that's Salt Bay, and his restaurant it's pretty wild. But yeah, it's true. When the games, there's nothing happening at the arena. There's not a lot of people walking over
It's
there.
similar to, I've looked at some projects and helped with some stuff down by Staples Center.
Yep.
So if it's not activated, it's tough down in that part of LA. Like it's a ghost town. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they do for numbers and stuff like that, but I just think it's a massive space. So
Do you know if he has? I know he has restaurants all over the world. Do you know where some other spots are?
they're in New York. I am assuming he has
Yeah.
8 to 10 restaurants now. I don't know.
Yeah. I know that he was going to open one in Santorini, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's good stuff. Right on. Cool.
I know we got a little backlash for the FIFA for the
Oh yeah, that's right. Walks up on the field and just starts like
hanging on the trophy. Or whatever.
yeah. You got a couple like side eyes on that, and yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of celebrity chefs in Vegas, I guess, more than anywhere else, really. Well, what's
I mean, from a culinary standpoint, I don't think there's any
better?
better.
There's nothing better.
New York's pretty good, but
Yeah.
most of the good New York spots moved here, so have locations here now. So
Yeah, I've always said that Vegas, people, they kind of think that it's gimmicky, and some people think that, especially in the locals, say we don't like to go to the Strip because it's busy and now there's parking and blah 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is that the best restaurants in the world are on this like 2-mile stretch. And it's amazing, but it's crazy. There's so much good stuff that's off Strip now. Like there, you have amazing chefs that are either touching on the Strip and then going off Strip,
Yep.
or just like decided when they wanted to come to Vegas there that they just didn't want to pay the rent that the strip had, and doing stuff off strip. You do stuff off strip, right?
Yeah, so that's kind of where we talk about Vegas and the evolution. I think the locals are getting savvy to the pricing and the parking and everything now that you're seeing a lot of successful restaurants off the strip. I think Stations is probably in a good spot because they've continued to see growth and success.
Yeah.
I believe Red Rock just got #1 rated casino in Forbes or something like hotel.
Well, you want to hear some crap? It's my 5-year-old daughter, 2 years in a row. Oh, what do you want for your birthday? I just want to go to Red Rock. Yeah. And we've had her 4-year-old, her 4th birthday and her 5th birthday were at Red Rock Casino in the pool. First year around, we just got like we just went, no reservation or anything. Second year around, I had to get the day bed, so it's like
that's funny.
Yeah, so like I think it spent like $1,500 on my 5-year-old's, but it's because Red Rock is so nice. Like they do it top tier there.
Yeah,
everything there. The pool's amazing. Like all the restaurants inside there are so good.
With downtown Summerlin growing, it's a pretty cool little spot to hang out now.
Yeah, in the West End. I live in the Southwest, and they're opening up Durango in like a month. Yeah, and they just announced the I think it's called Nico is the steakhouse there. Yeah. What do you have going on off the strip?
So like you said, looking at opportunities off strip and location, I partnered with a great chef. So we've been friends for years. He opened STK as exec chef.
Nice.
He was at Mastro's for about 6-7 years, I believe. He left Mastro's to open Toca Madera. So he's got a world of experience. He started with Michael Mina. So just corporate life and strip life and having a family. So we decided to purchase a little restaurant up in Henderson at the entrance of McDonald Ranch up there. So it's a great neighborhood.
Yep. Is this the one that I went by?
You might have gone by. It was
maybe 2 years
Chef
ago?
Piero Broglia owned it prior. Unfortunately, passed away during around COVID times and things like that. He was the original chef at Piero's by Convention Center. It's still legendary. It has his name on it. Opened Cafe Chloe and Pasta Mia. So we were friends with the family, so we took the opportunity to take the space over, inherited some of the staff. They were making amazing Italian food, and then bringing in Chef Romo to kind of, increase our purveyors for fish and getting fresh fish in every couple days and getting organic produce, and really just kind of took it to another level. But just your neighborhood Italian restaurant. We bought the space next door. We're expanding to a bar lounge now. So love the Henderson neighborhood up there. McDonald Ranch has got great clientele. So this is our first, getting involved a little bit in the gaming side too. We're doing 5 video poker machines in the bar. So
nice.
I have not done a gaming project yet. So this will be the first dabble into that world. And
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
I was pretty close to getting my hands on a gaming bar that was right actually by the Sphere over on Twain a little while ago. My wife wouldn't let me do it.
From my understanding, it's very lucrative if you have a good location.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to do a little different. We don't want to be smoky. So we're going to do non-smoking still.
Yeah.
And try to keep our core clients happy with what we're providing now, great food and service. So I definitely am looking to explore more opportunities off strip. In the Southwest, I think, is a little underserved as well. I live over there. So
yeah. You live in Southwest?
Yeah, I'm off kind of by Southern Highlands Country Club over there.
Nice.
And they're starting, people are realizing it's underserved. So there's one complex over there that's doing pretty well that people have opened some pretty good concept with.
Uncommons?
No, over off like the Smith Center, they opened a new steakhouse in there. I think it's 141 Prime. It's pretty good.
Nice.
Ola Cantina opened in there. Mama Bur. So you're seeing some culinary cool things go into that neighborhood, but there's not a lot of restaurants. You start hitting Blue Diamond now, and you're seeing it blow up.
Yeah.
Retail and things like that. So I remember not too long ago, like Target was
the
last thing on Blue Diamond.
Last thing over there.
It's like, why would you build a Target way out here? And it's kind of funny.
Oh yeah, no, it makes sense now.
So it goes all the way out to Mountain's Edge. And,
yeah, Blue Diamond has definitely been popping off. The whole South Side. I remember when Really, Blue Diamond was the furthest thing south, really. Like it didn't really, and then they made the Cactus exit, and then they made the Star exit,
Yep.
and and it filled it all in down to St. Rose, and there's just so much, and the growth doesn't seem like it's slowing down, huh?
Not over there. It's crazy how many houses are going in. So
Yeah, the
apartments. If you go up the St. Rose side, there's apartments on every corner, from Las Vegas Boulevard to St. Rose. There's got to be 10,000 units going in. So it's wild how much construction's still going on.
Speaking of apartments, did you see the because I live in the Southwest, the fire that happened?
Yeah, that was wild.
That was wild. Yeah. There was a fire and an entire must be 120 units, low rise construction that just caught on fire like 3 or 4 months ago, and I could feel the heat in my car. And ash was raining down on my car as we were
burned
driving
for 3 or 4 days.
Oh yeah, it was bad. My kids go to school near there, and it was pretty wild. Yeah. You've got a new project happening on the Strip as well, right?
Yeah. So I've been partners with JRS Hospitality for the last almost decade now. So got the opportunity to come and work with them. I had worked with them a little bit. They were partners with Stevie D back in the Pure LAX, and then Chateau and Gallery opened. So Hakkasan was managing the space for a little while, and I think they had a 1 year or 2 year contract, and then I came in to kind of help the transition from when Hakkasan pulled out to what it is now. And one of the things we did, we developed the beer park concept. So it was all Chateau nightclub at one point. It was three floors, indoor, outdoor, and another rooftop space. So now Beer Park was meant to be this American beer garden, show sports, outdoor patio overlooking the Bellagio fountains. We changed entrance points into the place, and just, there's not a lot of great spots to go sit on patios and just have casual beers and watch football and things like that. So I think we really timed it well from that aspect, from the sports viewing. Now you see every, Circus Swim, and it's kind of a business model. Now they put a sports bar next to the sports book, which makes sense. It's just a no-brainer. ESPN Zone was here. I'm surprised it didn't do better while it was here, because I think that concept really works.
Was that over at LAX?
I think that was New York.
New York, yeah.
And but now you're seeing all over the country Barstool Sports Lounge and DraftKings sports bars, and so it's kind of the new business model. And 10 years ago, it really. You didn't see much of it.
Yeah, the sports side of things is really taking off. Sports gambling, sports betting is really taking off.
So I think you'll see more evolutions of sports bars and even sports bars in the nightlife and things like that.
So what's your involvement with Beer Park?
So I started putting the concept together with the partners. So we looked, what were we going to put it? We had this unused space that was
one of the best spaces in the country. I'll say
it was a beer garden, but it wasn't done right, and it just didn't, it was okay for events and things like that. So the Perry Rogers, who's the main principal partner, one of the main principal partners in JRS, I went and looked. I met with the Vanderpumps. We talked about doing a pump out there. I met with Wahlburger to talk about doing a Wahlburger, but they were looking at this bizarre location at the time. So Perry said to me, why don't you try to come up with something for a concept that you think will work there? So I met with a local architect designer and put just some renderings and plans together. And Beer Park, believe it or not, was not trademarked or licensed or owned.
There you go.
Every other beer something is owned. But so we have the beerpark.com and the domain and the license, and they loved it. So we went to Anheuser-Busch, and they came on as strategic partner with us. And 8 years later, it's still doing gangbusters for business.
So. Oh yeah, I bet it's crushing it. It's one of the most beautiful spots in all of Las Vegas. And that space. I'm proud of you, man. That's such an amazing venue, and really cool.
Yeah, we brought in some great employees to launch it. Some good friends at the time, and they came over and did a fantastic job getting it off the ground and getting it up and running. And it's kind of it doubled and almost tripled in year 2 and 3 revenue wise, just to kind of give you an idea of. So it's been fantastic. It actually expanded into the Chateau space. So now Beer Park's the primary over there.
Yeah.
So that's where phase 3 or 4 or whatever we're on of that space. Chateau was the rooftop under the Eiffel Tower, which is another beautiful space. So the question was, what can we do with that space to kind of evolve it as well?
Yep.
So we are relaunching this weekend, Sherry Rooftop, which is going to be more of like a New York style roof. That's why we went to New York, looking at different concepts, but more of a lounge into later in the evening, maybe a little more of a nightlife vibe, but casual, cocktail focused, a little bit of a food component and things like that. And
Okay.
restructured the space to be flexible to do amazing events. So probably one of the best event spaces in Vegas now.
Nice. What makes it a good event space?
So prior up there, it had a lot of like concrete furniture and obstacles where you could not evolve the space. It had lighting trellises that were blocking, most of your dance floor area and things like that. So now we lifted everything up. We cleaned out all the concrete, so it's super flexible. You're under the Eiffel Tower overlooking the Bellagio fountains. You've got 12,000 square feet of, blank canvas for any event now. So
Nice.
we could do weddings, dinners,
Cool.
concert. You can do almost anything up there. So
Is it a place that's going to be open all the time, or is it going to be just be like the kind of like your nightlife stuff, or?
no, again, so it's kind of evolving out of nightclub,
Yeah.
nightlife to more of this ultra lounge, which I think there's an opportunity, and I think we'll start seeing more of Vegas. Some of the like you look at Barbershop and some of these places that have done really well. So I think a little smaller, less crowded, intimate experience where we learned after COVID, we stopped doing general admission there and we just did table service, and it was a much better experience for people. So
Yeah.
instead of 1,200 people packed in on top of you, it's 300 people, and the 300 people were willing to spend a little bit more money to have a better experience and enjoy a table and cocktail service that way. So we're kind of doing an evolution into more of that ultra lounge style. So we'll see. It's still kind of new. We're opening into the winter. We had to get open for Formula One, so there's still some more decor stuff that's coming in and things like that. But
Yep.
we're hoping by next March, April, we've got it running on full cylinders, and it's kind of this next version of, we want to be the premier rooftop in Las Vegas, where there's not that many options if you think about it. So there's rooftop bars inside, on the 50th floor of some of these places, but that has that kind of patio outdoor space. It's pretty unique to Las Vegas for a footprint. So that's kind of our goal, to build it into, one of the premier rooftop lounges in the city. So
That's one of my favorite spaces. I've spent a lot of time at Chateau. I have a lot of birthdays at Chateau, actually.
Yeah, probably,
I think I had my 30th birthday at Chateau. I think I got kicked out of Chateau on my 30th birthday.
That's funny.
But I might have dropped your name and like tried to get back in. But that space is so good. When you take over a major space like that, especially in a tourist destination where you've got, it's different, right? Your clientele in a tourist destination like Vegas or, South Beach or any spot like that. How do you go about marketing your space?
So Vegas is unique for that too. And I'm sure you're well aware it's 200,000 new people coming in every weekend. So where you would market in Boston or New York or LA, you're building a regular clientele and a regular base. You can get an email address from a guest and they might not come back for 4 years.
Right. If ever.
So, and the price of marketing on the Strip is not cheap. So it's using that money wisely to capture, your audience. And it's challenging for sure. So It's getting the word out. What is your concept? There's 8 million billboards if you can outbid the law firms to steal some of the billboard space.
Steve Demopoulos, man.
In the airport advertising, and it's evolving more into a digital market, I think, and you're seeing more of what's happening on Instagram and social media and TikTok and being marketing influences, and so it's staying up with that. And how do you capture, those guests coming in every weekend?
Do you do a lot of that? Do you do a lot of social media?
We do. So we're obviously it's a big success at Beer Park, and this is kind of a new platform for us. So getting different influencers in locally, and I want to see how that evolves and how that works. But there's a big plan for our marketing strategy moving forward with social media and things like that. So
Yeah, that's for
the
sure.
other part is good old school guerrilla marketing, that attacking these groups 6 months before they get to Vegas for conventions and concerts, and finding, whether it's a sports team's fan club from another city that's coming here to do an event, or CES, getting a hold of the 300 exhibitors before they get to town and have them be aware of your space and host their party there and things like that. So
Right.
it's a combination of building the relationships with the hotels and all the other feeders around the property for, and the bartender and the pit bosses and things like that. So it's layers and layers of things that lead to it, but you have to stay on top of it in Vegas because the demographic changes every weekend.
Yeah. So that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work. Yeah. Yeah. Location helps, I'm sure, but
location does help for sure.
yeah. What do you think the most important thing people need to think about if they're trying to open up a new venue? Not necessarily on the Strip, but like, if you have somebody listening in Oklahoma right now, like, and they want to open up a venue, what are the first things they should really think about?
Evaluating your cost and doing your pre-budget evaluation.
Know your numbers.
Yes, that's getting a great finance person to that have experience in that world to put numbers together for you, know what you're getting into, and be realistic about it. So location, all that stuff, your lease, your rent agreement, your landlord agreement, whether they're going to help with some rent abatement or tenant improvements. There's so many layers that can lead you to success, and having good landlords and good partners is a big piece of it, and knowing what you're getting into ahead of time.
How does somebody find a finance person?
There's a lot of CFOs that or CPAs that have hospitality restaurant experience and kind of can probably help structure, put a budget together, or there's consultants, like myself, that can come in and help you do a real evaluation of your numbers and your sales and what you can do and where your profit margin's going to be.
How do you forecast? How would somebody forecast a new venue opening up?
You do a little bit of competitive analysis, and once you're in the business for a while, you can kind of go to the neighborhood and the local competition, and you get a pretty good judge of what they're doing financially just by spending a day or two having dinner in there, things like that. So,
yeah.
But it's forecasting the concept and location. There's so many variables in that.
Yeah.
But that is what makes you successful. So
yeah, knowing your numbers is the number one thing, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of people come and talk to me about just kind of like random business advice, and I one of the first things I always ask them is like, okay, like let's see your budget, and that's usually where things tend to fall flat, because the concept, the idea, and everything, like it has to pencil out. I hear that, but I think that with especially inexperienced people that want to get into hospitality, especially if they're in a position to open up their own spot, they don't know where to start, and then they find themselves like 50, 100, 150, 200 plus deep into a project.
And having a great project manager, contractor, knowing your permits and licensing, what all that's going to cost, it's not cheap, and there's a lot of things that cost money. So
yeah.
Different cities have different rules about liquor licensing and things like that. So.
Yeah. Actually, I made I made a podcast about the difference between the Las Vegas liquor laws and what they are in British Columbia. And for a long time in Whistler, where I did business, there was a moratorium on new liquor licenses. Like you just couldn't get one.
Right.
So in order to get a new liquor license, somebody had to close their doors, or they had to be bought out or transferred like that.
That's how Massachusetts is like that too. I looked at a project in the seaport there, and the liquor license was so expensive.
Oh man, that's brutal. That's brutal. That's sad. Where do you think the industry is going on the nightlife side of things?
Well, I think we have another mega property coming on board with Fontainebleau. So I just think that customer that spends, we've seen it, the $100,000, $150,000 customers. There's not that many to go around to support all these big venues. So I think you'll see a little bit of, DJ stuff, evolution, change,
contractions.
Yeah. So what's the next thing after the big DJ? You know, what else are they going to do? We're going to see the celebrities come back and things like that, to start getting people to pay tickets or come through the door. So there's just a lot of, you know, if it's like having 3-4 big stadiums and have 4 concerts on the same night, how are they going to come to your concert instead of the other 3 concerts? So
Yeah.
I wouldn't, you know, you might see some more evolution of Latin music coming to town, and some of those big artists. I know they do really well when they come here.
Yeah.
So
J Balvin's going to be performing. He's supposed to be performing at the Sphere during the Grand Prix.
wow.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Seeing I'd be curious to see what like a DJ or more high energy concert looks like in there, because it's so steep.
Yeah.
Are people going to be able to dance? And
I
it should
saw-
be pretty wild.
I saw that Major Lazer tickets are Major Lazer is going to be performing at the Grand Prix as well at the Sphere.
Wow.
I went on Ticketmaster to see if I could get my hands on a ticket, but I couldn't, and I don't understand if they're not available yet, or if it's like I misread the event or whatever the case is. But it honestly, it seemed like the Ticketmaster site was screwed up. That's what it seemed like. So
The Formula One, there's so much stuff going on. It's kind of hard to keep track of all the activations that week. So
yeah,
it's been interesting for sure, having it transform the strip and being at Beer Park and trying to drive into the Paris casino.
yeah.
It can take 20 minutes or it can take an hour and a half. It's been crazy. So
Has the construction around Paris affected your business?
I don't think too much. Maybe a little bit. Locals aren't going anywhere near that stuff,
Yeah.
unless they have to come to work. So I've heard of some of the businesses kind of getting blocked off by it, like some of those smaller little bars down on Harmon and things like that.
Yeah.
But it hasn't affected us, I don't think, too much. It's changed the landscape of what it looks like down there for sure.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
pretty crazy.
For sure. Do you think that that the demographic of nightlife and party people has significantly changed in the since COVID? And what do you think the effect is going to be on the industry?
I mean, I think some of it is more economic than the demographic. So coming out of COVID, Vegas was booming for about a year. It was crazy. I think everyone was just ready to go out and let loose and
Yeah.
do a vacation, and traveling international was challenging. So I think Vegas became the destination for a solid year, where it was, you know, and I think nightlife was killing it. And I think over the last year and a half, we've started seeing a little bit of the real recession, disposable income for people. So it's been noticeable, I think. So we'll see, you know, country and election and all the stuff coming up, what kind of effect. We do have big things scheduled for Las Vegas, so hopefully that offsets some of the recession stuff with F1 and Super Bowl. Super Bowl is going to be record breaking here. I mean, what a great location to have a Super Bowl. So you're going to see corporate sponsors from every walks of life coming in here. I think it'll outperform Formula One, but they're saying Formula One's going to be bigger. But
it might be more dollars for like physical dollars coming into Las Vegas during that weekend. I can see how Formula One would be more, but I see the outlasting effects of Super Bowl being much bigger.
Yeah.
So
it's exciting. The college tournaments starting to come here and things like that. March should be a great month. So
yeah, right on.
I think, and again, does that customer for Super Bowl and F1 probably translates pretty good into the nightlife world too.
Yeah.
My concern about F1 is just people getting around the city for those 3 days.
Yeah.
Are they going to stay in their pockets, or are they going to try to navigate on the monorail? Or
I don't know. I think locals are going to be in a tough spot for sure, but hopefully everyone will be tucked away in their hotels. I did just look at the hotel rates, and a lot of them have dropped. Yeah, like they were really expensive 2 weeks ago, and now they have gone down. Mind you, some of the major casinos seem to be sold out.
I think most of the people who are coming to it have already made their plans.
Right.
So you're in the window now where if you held on to a lot of room product and things like that,
Time to let it go.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to sell
Yeah.
super premium.
Yeah, mind you though, it's 105,000 tickets, isn't it? Is that over 3 days?
That's so typically most of the F1 stuff. I think you have to buy the 3-day pass, but I don't know if they sell individuals and maybe just for Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
From my understanding, it's usually pretty quiet the first 2 days, and then the last days where everybody shows up.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I'm not in that world.
I watched the Netflix series just to get a grasp on what F1 was because I didn't know anything about it either.
Oh,
so.
I will watch that.
So that'll give you a little understanding of how it works. But.
All right, cool. Yeah, sweet. Is there anything that you want to plug?
No, just a couple new projects coming on. So keep your eyes open for Cherie Rooftop, and we got my little restaurant out in Henderson's called For Locals is Chefs from a Kitchen, and you want some fantastic Italian food in a cozy little environment, come see us there.
Nice, awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much for coming in, man. I appreciate it.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, good to see you. All right, thanks.